Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Telegraph Herald, More Than the Score. I'm your host Steve Ortman, alongside Tim O'Neill. Yes, we are back this week. After a brief hiatus last week, executive producer Paul Krusty Sides went to Disney World. Paul, how was Disney World, buddy?
It's great. Real great, thanks.
Great. How was the magical world of Harry Potter?
It was very magical, and it was a world.
I bet. Yeah. Did you go on the Jaws ride?
Yeah.
You're not lying, are you?
It was.
You went on the Jaws ride. Why would you go to Universal Studios and Disney World?
Is that the one where it's the giant ape?
Oh
and
my.
he's like swinging at you?
Well, that was a waste of a trip. Anyways, Steve Ortman, Tim O'Neill for this week's episode. Tim, you were down at the Iowa State Wrestling Tournament. So, was it fun?
Yes!
Yes!
Yes, it was. It was fun.
Well, tell us about it.
It was a lot of fun, actually. Steve, are you okay, though? I want to make sure you're okay there.
Oh, you're excited.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be.
You know me.
2 state champions. My belt's all weird.
Get yourself composed.
2 state champions at the Iowa State Tournament.
Actually, for the 4th consecutive year, we've had multiple state champions. And this year was a couple different ends of the spectrum. We had a senior from
I think I got to
Hempstead.
forfeit. I think I'm going to have to forfeit this episode.
Okay.
Injury default.
Go get, medical default. Go get yourself some ice.
Major decision. Oh,
Major
okay.
decision.
Anyways, yes, let's talk about the champions.
So Hempstead senior Joe Pins capped off a stellar 4-year career with his 132-pound state championship in Class 3A. And then Cascades, Aidan Noonan, a sophomore, finished off an undefeated season, became the Cougars' first state champion ever, winning the 113-pound championship in Class 1A.
Cascade has had a habit of doing that lately when you factor in girls and boys basketball, and now Mr. Noonan.
I was just thinking about that the other day. In the past 12 months, Cascade has won state championships in that arena in boys basketball, girls basketball, and now an individual wrestling championship. So there's not a whole lot of schools that could say that they've done that in the history of the state. So congratulations to Cascade on that, first of all. But then when you look at the rest of the state tournament as a whole, we sent 20 qualifiers down to Des Moines. 12 of them made it to the medal stand. That's a pretty good percentage. And then 3 of the 20 made it to the state finals. We talked about Joe Pins. We talked about Aidan Noonan. Unfortunately, Western Dubuque's Devin Ludwig finished runner-up at 182 in Class 3A to Linmar's Jacob Wempen. But just a fantastic tournament. We'll run down the rest of them. But first, let's start with Aidan Noonan. Caught up with him after his championship. You'll get to see some of those highlights. Here's what he had to say after becoming the Cougars' first ever state champion. He was just the Cougars' first state finalist since 1985, so big gap in there. They finally brought home the gold. Here's what he had to say.
Since I was a little kid, I wanted to be the first ever state champ for Cascade, and it's a great feeling to actually do it.
Yeah, Coach told me you had kind of predicted the future, that you were going to be Cascade's first state champion. What all went into making that a reality?
Hard work, working every day to get better, and doing what I can to get it done.
What does it say about the work you put in that you went from, a district third place finisher last year to a state champion in 1 year, undefeated state champion 1 year? What does that say about your work ethic and the work you put in the off season during the season?
Hard work can get you anywhere. No matter how much ability you have, if you put hard work in, you can get it done.
What's the view like from the top step?
It's pretty awesome up there. I'm taller than everybody else.
So there was a 4-2 decision for Aidan Noonan over Bo Klingensmith of Woodbury Central in the final. Fantastic match from him, and boy, gotta expect more from him coming up. He's almost at 100 wins through 2 seasons. He is on pace to smash the program all-time career record. And boy, after winning a state title as a sophomore, it looks pretty bright for him. You gotta start looking at him. What's he gonna do future? Is he gonna be a 2-time, 3-time state champion, 3-time state medalist? And most impressive part for me was he was the guy who finished 3rd at the district meet last year. It's a heartbreaking thing to experience. and then to go all the way from that to a state champion, that's a pretty meteoric rise. So looking forward to big things from him. And that wasn't all.
All right. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. This is so awkward. Joe Pins, Dubuque Hempstead, you know, we can say all we want about him. He's been a dominant wrestler, a hammer, as they call him. And he's a guy who's really lightened it up in interviews the past couple of years. He's a little bit of a jokester, likes to joke around. Said he was looking forward to Fiji water the most at state tournament when we talked before the tournament. He brought it up again in his post-match interview after he won a state title, but what he was really looking forward to is finally winning that state title. Mm-hmm. He was a 4-time state qualifier, 3-time state medalist now. He had finished 3rd each of the past 2 years, ran into a couple of really good wrestlers on his way, but this year there was no stopping Pins. He beat the number 1 ranked kid 4-2 in the finals. It was a kid who had beaten him by 2 points last year. And you may look at a 4-2 score and think it's not really that dominant, but boy, was it ever. Joe got a takedown in the first. He got an escape in the second, allowed a takedown there in the second, but got out again. And then when his opponent, Ben Monroe of Ankeny Centennial, chose the down position to start the third, Pins never gave him a chance to get to his feet. He just rode out the entire third period. Fantastic performance. And he's one of those kids that you really like to see accomplish that goal, his final match of his high school career, because he's really easy to root for, quality kid. And I caught up with him after his state final. Maybe you'll see a little bit of this humor. And here's what he had to say.
All right, congratulations, Joe. 2019 Class 3A, 132-pound state champion. First of all, how does that sound to you?
Oh my gosh. Saying it to myself, I don't even believe it, but, you know, dream coming true.
We talked about how you're trying to get to this point the past 4 years. You finally got there. What did it take to get here?
I think it just took a lot of self-reflection, a lot of early mornings, late nights, a lot of time with coaches, reflecting, you know, just getting the most out of myself, day in, day out, not worrying about the results, trust the process, you know, just hammering away, Harry Potter, Fiji, all go into this type of stuff.
How does the reality compare to the dream?
Reality's much more emotional, you know, kind of a big crybaby here, but, you know, I think people let it slide this time.
Absolutely. When you were waiting for your medal, kind of saw you looking off into the distance. What was the view from that top step like?
Oh, you know, it wasn't quite as high as I imagined until they made me get down. Holy cow. I just about broke my ankles there. But, you know, luckily I didn't. And Coach didn't pull me down, so I'm happy there, too. So.
All right, this was a guy you had lost to last year. Really dominated him this time. 4-2 score may not look that way, but how dominant did you feel out there?
You know, I think I felt dominant, but in the same hand, he's a great athlete, great guy, and I just wish the best for him. But tonight, I went out there and hammered away.
What's next for you?
What's next? Party in the hotel, I think. You know, party, but not too hard because, you know, school's still on Monday. So I don't know, though. We're supposed to get snow, so heck, maybe we'll stay another night in the hotel.
All right, that was Joe Pins, possibly one of the greatest names ever etched in the Iowa record books for winning a state championship. Joe Pins gets it done at state. Tim, can you run down some of the other kids that had nice runs at state? Maybe didn't win a state championship, but still nice finishes.
Yeah, let's just keep it in 3A there for a minute. You know, we mentioned Devin Ludwig earlier. He was one of those guys, made it to the final. And in talking to him after his semifinal victory, he mentioned to me that he had almost given up the sport of wrestling in grade school and middle school a couple of times, but stuck with it out of a sense of loyalty and dedication to his teammates, the fans who are always so dedicated behind the wrestlers down at state, stuck with it and put together a dominant season. He only lost 3 matches this year. All 3 of those matches came to the top-ranked kid at his weight. It came at the conference meet, the district meet, and unfortunately at the state meet and the state final. But fantastic season from him, fantastic career from him. And elsewhere, the Bobcats got a 3rd-place finish from Riker Karimsky. Another senior had a tough loss in the semifinals, bounced back with 2 more wins on Saturday night. said he didn't want to finish the season 0-1. He finished the season 1-0 the way he wanted it to. He had mentioned that even though he had lost in the semifinals and he was on the backside, he put it in his head that he was still on the front side, and his championship now was going to be that third place match. So nice to see that mentality of getting that next best thing no matter what. Other Bobcats, Jake Hush finished 6th at 170, and Elijah Demmer finished 8th at 152. He had a huge win earlier in the tournament. He was losing the final 30 seconds by 4, and he got a throw and finished off the pin, upset a higher-ranked kid to clinch his spot on the medal stand. 3-time state qualifier, finishing off his career, so that was fantastic for him. For Hempstead, we had a couple other place winners. Kent Kragenbrink, senior, finished 7th at 170, showed a lot of emotion after his final match. And then Tyler Murphy, 8th at 145 for the Mustangs. In Class 2A, we only had one state medalist. It was Taven Rich, heavyweight from Maquoketa, took 3rd at 285. Boy, this is a kid who started wrestling just a couple of years ago, and he's a junior, so the sky's looking very, very bright for him. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he opened next year ranked number 1 at 285 in Class 2A. As we drop down to 1A, we had, with Cascade, they had a great tournament. Last year, Noonan became the program's first state medalist since 2005. He became a two-time state medalist this year, placing 5th at 132 to go with his younger brother Aidan's championship. And then for Beckman, a couple of fantastic wrestlers, seniors for them, 3-time state qualifiers, Grant Hager and Owen Grover, both finished 4th. Hager was 4th at 138 and Grover at 195. A bunch of other state qualifiers who didn't quite make the medal stand, but still making it down to state is quite an accomplishment. As we work our way back up, you talk about Spencer Amling from Edgewood-Colesburg and Zach Rader from Bellevue. Maquoketa's Abe Mickle knocked off the defending state champ in his first round match in Class 2A, and then Wallert's Connor Dean. He's now a 3-time state qualifier, twice in Minnesota, but he's a junior. He'll be back for the Golden Eagles next year and looking to do a little more damage down at state. And then back up in 3A, finishing out for Western Dubuque, they also had Dawson Bierman down at state, and Hempstead had Adler Kramer, Trevor Myers, and Owen Dunn, both down at state. So congratulations to all 20 of those wrestlers. It was a fantastic season. You know me, Steve, I love covering the Iowa State Wrestling Tournament. It's my favorite event, so I already can't wait to get back down there next year.
All right, well, as always is the case around here, area wrestlers are always caravanning down to the state tournament. Tons of great wrestling talent in this area. Another great showing here in 2019. Tim, you did a great job down there. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Telegraph Herald More Than the Score. I'm your host, Steve Ortman. For Tim O'Neill, we'll see you next week, hopefully.